Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Talks with Sogan. Today, we have someone spectacular that I found on TikTok. He was on the news, and I found him to bring him here to have a very important conversation on what they called a romance scam. I know you and I feel like maybe that's not the right term for it, but would you like to introduce yourself to whoever's listening?
Hi, I'm David, and I recently had been romance scams slash taken advantage of and lost a lot of money.
When you say a lot of money, I know how much. You want to let them know exactly how much because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Like heavy on the a lot.
Yeah, I mean it was close to 200,000. So
Insane.
yeah,
And it was on an app that still exists.
yeah,
I'm gonna put a picture of it somewhere, so people know that this is still happening in broad daylight. So do you
yeah,
want to tell people like how did this come to be?
yeah. So I mean, pretty much, I hadn't been dating for several years
Hmm.
and decided to sign up for a dating site. Some people had blue checks and some people didn't. But what I did know is that I didn't want to be catfished. So whoever I was going to match with, I was going to ask them to, reveal themselves in some sort of picture or FaceTime. So I had swiped right on a gentleman and he matched and we immediately, swapped pictures and to confirm that we were real, and then also went on FaceTime to confirm that we are real. And so this happened back in March of this year.
Just want to reiterate what you just said. They FaceTimed.
Yes.
Typically, you hear of these kind of romance scam slash catfishing, and the person's using a whole different identity, different
Right.
video. This person is real. They
Yes.
just with their whole chest, with their whole
Yes.
face.
Yeah.
I still can't get over that.
Yeah. And so, immediately we started either FaceTiming or talking on the phone or texting. And we were trying to get to know each other, know each other's families, each other's goals. In one of those discussions, they learned that I wanted to go back and do my executive MBA. So, in discussing that, we talked about what it's going to take to do that, and of course, there's the financial aspect of that, where an executive MBA is quite expensive. And so, just being recently debt free at the time, I didn't want to go back into debt. And so we were discussing different options, and they were the ones who had said that, they knew about stock options and how you could make money in a short amount of time. And so, they obviously were smart enough to not offer themselves as like a person to receive the money, but told me that they could, show me how to do it myself. I would set up my own account, my own password, and they wouldn't have any access to it. So I thought.
And to clarify, you two met on Tinder,
Yes.
which is accessible to everybody. So people are on Tinder.
Yes.
And the app that he asked you to deposit your money in for stocks was a different app.
Right.
That also exists. They both exist. Okay.
Right. Right. So the app that he recommended is a legitimate company that this. It's just that when he was talking to me, he spelled out the app, and I put it into my Coinbase wallet, and it came up with the app looking legitimate. But obviously, later on, I would learn that it was not the right address, and it was a fake app that was designed exactly like the legitimate one.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's even more sinister. It's replicating something that is legit and people actually can put stocks on and make money from.
Right. And I mean, this individual was smart enough to know not to send me a link. because, maybe I would look at it and be like, oh, that looks weird.
Mhm.
And instead they spelled it over the phone while we were chatting, while we were having a good conversation. And then, it came up with the site, and, I had Googled, Bitmart scams. The legitimate site was called Bitmart, and I had said Bitmart scams. There was nothing that came up as like a Bitmart scam that people were trying to do. I was like, ooh, like, watch out for this type of scam with Bitmart. Bitmart.
And you told me when we spoke last time that this app, the fraudulent one, is it like exists in Denver?
Yeah,
Or the
so
business is in Denver?
so it was a registered business in Denver. On the fake site, they have like a secretary signed business of good standing on the fake site. Yeah,
They're get sorry, I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
also hearing some of this for the first time, and this is like legit. Sorry, carry on.
yeah. They're using legitimate businesses to do criminal activity. I mean, they used a legitimate server to put this website on. They used a cloud service that is legitimate. They used a VoIP phone service that's legitimate. They even got government registered bits of the business legitimately, but the activities that they're performing, it's um, while that they can have all these legitimate businesses, um, kind of help them get away with the crime. I mean, if I was a mom and pop shop and everyone said, hey, every time I go to this store, or every so often when I go to the store, my car gets compromised, I'm sure the police would have shut down my store, even if I didn't have any way of of them proving that I was responsible for any of the scams that happened in my store.
Right.
But with these larger businesses, I mean, it just seems to be something that is just a way of life, right? Like, these VoIP companies know that there's going to be criminals who register with their business and pretend to scam people. These server sites know that there's going to be fake businesses that register on them and are not legitimate. I mean, I'd even filed a complaint with the server site, and it was called Gname. And at the time, with the information I sent them, they just kind of closed it and said that they couldn't confirm that it was an illegitimate site. So yeah, it just makes it really hard for anyone to get any of these things shut down. And of course, by the time these things are shut down, they've already taken people's money.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, when you started depositing, it was in small amounts, right?
So initially it was in small amounts, and then we do some stock option trades, but it was all under the understanding that in order to make sort of gains, you have to have large
Deposits.
deposits, right? And so, I mean, it was following pretty, standard financial investing philosophy. So once I do some option trades, I'd see that the money was growing. And so, I mean, the issue became, however, when I went to go withdraw the money, that, that's when I started having issues. The so-called customer service, just went silent. The person that I had gotten to know disappeared, and that's when the ruse was up.
When you say the person that you were talking to disappeared, obviously you had built a emotional connection with this person. There was trust there. You said you were talking once a week, FaceTiming, right?
We were FaceTiming once a week, but we were talking every day, like texting
Right.
yeah.
So when you say they disappeared, that the account was gone, the phone was gone.
Their Tinder account had went away pretty immediately because they, under the guise that, when they're getting to know someone, they don't continue to have an account. And so,
The audacity to play with someone like that.
yeah, I mean, trying to sound very smooth that, oh, of course, I'm, dedicating, my time to getting to know one person at a time kind of thing, right? I mean, this guy is a con artist, and it's con artist just seems such a old-fashioned term for like back in the day, but I mean, they are just way more enabled by the technology that exists today, where they don't actually have to meet you to con you.
Don't have to pretend like they're a different person. They just
And they don't have to pretend they're a different person at all.
I'm still stuck on that because that's typically when we hear about stuff like this, it's they use somebody else's persona. That person has no idea. No, this is this person. Have you been able to find any information about this person at all? Like, do they have other accounts? Do they have other social media? I don't know. Like,
so far, nothing has come up in my searches. I don't know if that this was like their first go at scamming people, and so that's why they don't really have that much. Like they don't have fake accounts that I was able to find or anything like that. I did some, reverse photo searches, and it showed them at like parties, but parties where it's kind of like people take pictures of the party goers, but you don't get any sort of names attached to who's in the picture. And then that was pretty much the best that I could get. Aside from that, yeah, there really wasn't much of an online presence, at least from a reverse picture. And then, of course, the name that they gave me, Pierre Dupont, is so generic that I mean, it could be anyone.
And they said they lived in LA.
They lived in Beverly Hills. Lee was from New York. Their parents were living in New York. They had a sister who lived in Belgium with her family, her husband, and their child.
And you had plans to meet.
Yeah, we had plans to meet in May. All of a sudden, of course, something happened with work and they couldn't show up, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, all the while, I still thought I was somewhat protected because I thought it was my own account with my own password and it was my own thing because I thought I was on the legitimate site, right? I mean, obviously, if I had any inclination that it was a ruse of a site, I would have never invested. It's, everyone seems to think that they know a scam before it actually happens, but that's only true until it's not, right? You are wise to, avoiding, phone numbers that you don't recognize, that might be fraudulent, or emails that you don't recognize, so you don't click them. But at the same time, you never may have encountered in a situation where you meet someone, either in person or online, who actually presents themselves as like a person that they are, and then does something heinous to you, right? Expect that.
No, and I think that was a bigger reason that I wanted to talk to you, and I really appreciate your time, is that people think this happens to like gullible people, vulnerable people who like are falling for scams. We're talking to somebody who wants to do an MBA.
Yeah.
We're talking to somebody who's accomplished. We're talking to somebody who has going on. Like this doesn't happen to just, I think there is a stigma and a stereotype that you have to be like gullible for this to happen to you. And no, because they're outsmarting us, they're outsmarting laws, they're outsmarting like tactics. I mean, this is their full-time job.
This is their full-time job, and they're gonna, do whatever psychotic methods to, if it means that they're gonna get hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if anyone says that, oh, I would be too smart, I'd ask them to go watch the Yorkville Swindler, CBC did an hour special on the Yorkville Swindler, and this guy was, he's meeting people in person. So, the fact that I'm only FaceTime this person, it doesn't mean anything. Even if I had met him in person, he could have swindled. Guy in Yorkville swindled a bank. Like, a bank was willing to give him $30 million, right? It was one of the five major banks. And there was a lawyer that had given this guy $300,000, right? And watch the hour special about the Yorkville Swindler. What I recognize is that everyone kept their identity concealed because they had so much shame around being fooled by this guy. So, I mean, that's something that I refuse to do. I know that there's the online comments, what people are saying, but there's nothing there that anyone has said that's worse than anything I've said to myself, And so, yeah, I think it's what scammers anticipate is that we would just go through this in silence and move on to the next victim. But if we, form community and share information about the new tactics that people are doing, then we'll never necessarily be one step ahead, but we can be riding right alongside.
5. Amen to that, brother. Yeah. Amen. I have nothing to say to any of that because it was so well done. Well done. That was another reason I reached out to you, was because typically when these stories come out, it's a blurred face, it's a different name, and I was like, is it actually his name? And I found it on LinkedIn. I was like, yes. And I'm so proud of you for being so public and open about it. Did you contact the news, or did they contact you?
I contacted the news. Yeah. Okay.
They came to your place and they protected you with your Tom Brown.
Oh, you noticed.
I did. I was like, oh yeah, because it's different. People, like you said, they live in that guilt and shame because that's the stereotype and that's the stigma. It's like, this doesn't happen to smart people. Yes, it does. Because we don't live our life scamming people. So we we don't think about these things. And this really touches me because we hear about seniors getting scammed a lot, or vulnerable populations, but the reality of this can happen to anybody, and it does. And I think it continues because we don't talk about it.
Right.
It's kind of shunned away. It's hush hush, and it's I'm sorry that happened to you, and then moving on. We're not doing that. We are not doing that today. Breaks, and we're talking about it. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Scammers are going to target anybody who's going to give them anybody.
They got no preference.
They have no preference. But I think what we'll find is that the ones who have it the most devastating are the most marginalized people who depend on that money, right? Those savings that that they've given up, or that line of credit or credit that they use thinking that they were going to get more money. It devastates them a lot more significantly than someone who is wealthy. And yes, maybe that is a loss that they can eat, whereas other people, they can't. They have to file for bankruptcy, or they have to take a second job, or they have to borrow money, or depend on family. And so it does hit marginalized people a lot harder. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to everyone. It happens to everyone. They are an equal opportunity scam.
The equal opportunity. Yeah, the equal opportunity.
Yeah.
And I feel like they probably like challenges, right? They want to go harder,
and some of them convince themselves. You can. I feel like this person was playing a character. They convinced themselves that they were the person that they were sharing themselves to be, because they never slipped up. It wasn't like, oh, but wait a minute, you said this in our last conversation. No, it was they knew what they said. They were on it. And so it was really bizarre, because you're left thinking, what part of it was not real? Especially considering you're showing your face, you're showing your real face. What part of it was not real? And so it is challenging when someone is getting to know you and they gain your trust. And then you're like in a predicament where it's like they're testing your trust, and you're like, okay, do I just shut them down now? Do I shut down everyone who tries to, test my trust in any sort of financial way? And unfortunately, majority of the time, yes. Yes, you do. Especially when you just got to know them, right? You got to see if there's any other way you can help them other than financially. And if it kind of the wheels start to fall off at that point, then you know why they were there.
Did they introduce you to friends, family in this time? Did you get to
They promised to introduce me to friends and family when we were supposed to meet in May. So, I mean, there was always the talk of those things, and
yeah, empty promises for sure.
yeah,
But you don't know that they're empty promises until you know they're empty promises. Like
exactly.
It's like
You're right.
Yeah, you're on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And there's highs and there's lows, and they're just like any other getting to know anybody.
Yeah.
I think the terrifying thing is that it can rattle you. But I think what really was beautiful to me when we spoke last time was that you said you're still open to love and you're still open to meeting. And I think that's probably not the case for everybody. So I think that's really inspiring. What gives you that hope still?
You know what? I think of like a quote by James Baldwin that says, love is an unpopular movement, but it's those of us that love that keep the world together. And so I do feel that I will find, my tribe, that person out there that feels the same way I do. And I think that this experience has just made me more discerning, right? I mean, I think I was discerning before, but the person caught me in a very vulnerable position, right? I wanted to go to school and I wanted to get that money within a short amount of time. If I didn't have that goal this year, say I set that goal for 2026, or I set that goal for 2027 or later or never, their whole spiel would have never impacted me. I would have been like, oh, like, that stock option thing is cute, but that's not for me. Find someone else, like that would have never, but it was the timing of everything. And that's what people don't understand is that people are thinking about spotting a scam when the timing is not right, where they're hyper vigilant, they're looking for the signs, they're just like, oh, I like, that's a scam, that's a scam, that's a scam. You being in your most vulnerable state, situation like this happens, and you think that it's your happy-go-lucky moment. You're like, oh my gosh, maybe this is my, miracle, right? And then your miracle comes to bust. A quick story. I had a friend who told me recently that she has a good friend that was in New York City, and they were just eating sushi and just happened to strike conversation with the person beside them, and they had some like interests and stuff like that. Came to find out that the person that they struck the conversation with was worked on the Kendrick Lamar tour. They were like, yeah, like we had such a great conversation, whenever you want to go to one of his concerts, let me know and I'll get you tickets, and thinking this, even when I heard this story, I was like, okay, this has got to be a scam of some sort, right? Like it just sounds too crazy for it to happen so timely, right? It was true. She actually gave him the tickets, and my friend went, and they got their choice of front row or the pit, and it was a happy-go-lucky moment, right? Like it was one of those moments that never happens to just anyone, but it did happen, right? But scammers will take those happy-go-lucky moments and they do it for like everybody, and they fool everybody, right? into thinking that they're having a happy-go-lucky moment when they're not, you know? And so
It's hard to discern. I know you use the word
it is.
but it's how can you know? Like you can't know.
You
Like
can't know.
the Kendrick Lamar thing. Like yeah, like how can you know? And it's I don't like that it makes us jaded and it makes us distrustful of already a world that's like so in need of love and affection and trust.
Yeah.
It makes us so cautious now, even more than we need to be.
I mean, if there was ever, oh, well, you got to give me a certain amount of money, then I think flags go up, right? And be like, thank you for the offer, but I'm not gonna proceed.
Yeah.
There was no request for money or anything, and so that worked out smoothly. But at the same time, when you're having this go lucky moment, you don't know if at any point it's going to flip to that.
Exactly. It's because you're like a butter knife trying to cut through something hard. Like you just don't know at what point is it gonna cut. Or is it gonna not cut? But I'm glad that worked out for your friend, though.
One of those moments of a lifetime, right?
I do think in my heart of hearts that you will find your person. I do genuinely believe that because you're such a good person. Like, look at you sharing your story so candidly, so that nobody else can get hurt this way, or at least that they know that this is a thing. Because I didn't know this was a thing. A lot of the viewers, like when I shared that post, like I told you, it was like at 60K views. I look back at it, it's like at 97K or something. Like that's people watching, and most of them, I promise, probably don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's gonna bring you good karma. I do believe that. I do believe in the law of physics. Whatever you put out, you're gonna get it back.
Yeah.
But I do think your person is out there. It's a shame it wasn't Pierre. But your person is out there, and for Pierre, I wish nothing good.
Yeah.
So how are you coping with all of this? You said that, the comments, maybe don't read them.
Yeah.
But
I don't read them.
Good. I read them because I wanted to see how relatable this is. But just don't read them. People are just, there's no empathy online anymore. That's just my consensus for most of these viral videos. There's no empathy.
Yeah. Either trying to get a comment that people think is funny or gets a lot of likes, or they're trying to or sometimes they're being intentionally mean just because they hate their own life, and this is like a way for them to like release that tension of hating their life. So yeah, I don't take anything online personal at all, because it's really not real. I take the comments that I get from my friends and family, and all of it has been supportive. I mean, that's the most important for me. I mean, the way that I deal with it is I go to the gym as many times as possible. Weight training is really good for this. Do like 12 kilometers, and that's really good. So yeah, keeping physically in shape is really good for this. It helps me fall asleep, and get through my day. A lot of people were like, oh my gosh, like, didn't this like completely devastate you that you had to stop working? And I'm like, no, I worked through this whole thing. I love my job, and yeah, I think what a scammer wants is for you to be completely devastated and destroy any sort of semblance of normality in your life. And so a lot of the things that I kept doing, like working and going to the gym and still meeting up with friends, I still continue to do. I mean, mind you, I am in a fortunate position that while I do, obviously this has financially devastated me, I still am in a position where I do have some time to figure and sort that out. Not everyone has that option, right? So while I'm figuring it and sorting it out and trying to make, repair the damage that's done and figure out how I'm gonna get my money back, I'm trying to keep myself afloat. Yeah.
That's gonna bring you that good. I'm telling you, it's gonna bring you good.
I
Okay, so
hope so.
what else is helping you? Obviously, community. You're surrounding yourself with people who are showing you love.
Like my family, my brothers, my sister, my mom, are crucial to every single one of them has been super, super supportive. I couldn't like ask for a better family. Um, and then my friends just surround me and hold me. You know, um, I like I'm very lucky to have the friends that I have. Um, and yeah, they are there to give me moral support. Um, so yeah,
Yay.
and even the people I work with, like I work with some really great people. I don't want to say where I work, but I work with some really great people, and even the people that I work with, um, they've been super supportive, and have been super understanding and have said many, many kind words to me. I think, the constant words that I've heard from people, whether it be from people at work or my family or friends or even strangers, is bravery or resilience. I've heard that quite often, and that means a lot to me. I didn't necessarily think it was me, but definitely, I'm sure if you look throughout my life, there are those examples. So this is just another situation that's tough that I'm going through. Um, but yeah, I do feel that I'll make it through.
You're definitely gonna get through. And when you come to Edmonton, I'm gonna treat you. I'm gonna be in your.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Um,
you.
maybe don't come when it's too cold though.
Yeah.
Our falls are beautiful here. Just saying. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think that people who've gone through pain and choose not to inflict on others will understand. And everybody else. I mean, I wish them healing, except for Pierre.
Yes, everyone, but yeah, whoever made the website is one person, whoever registered is another person. Pierre's like the honeypot. He's the person with the sweet face that was put out there to like attract the clientele. It's a whole business of people, right? And then there's like, I'm sure, multiple just like them that are working across the world doing the exact
Yeah.
same
Pierre and company.
and company. Exactly. I mean, I've had several years of therapy, so I've
Mm.
just I was actually discharged from my therapist. So the last time I had therapy, so I just use a lot of what I learned from that. I was discharged for good reasons, not because I was a bad client. I'd gone as far as I could go, and so I utilize a lot of the same strategies to kind of bring calm to me whenever I feel, any sort of ruminating thoughts or any sort of down days. Because I do have my good days and my bad days, but my bad days are never um, as bad or as dark as, when it first came crashing down. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening to my life?
With us some of those tools that you use, even on good days and bad days from therapy.
Yeah, so for me, music is huge, So um, I listen to music a lot. Usually, like just the idea of putting on some of my favorite songs just kind of elevates my mood almost instantly. Cook for people.
Oh,
So I have a friend that lives next door, and so I'll be like, "Hey, I'm cooking. Like don't bring lunch to work. I'm gonna make something. You can bring it for lunch, and we can have it for dinner." So cooking is very therapeutic. I can bake as well, so that's therapeutic as well. Um, and then just like, yeah, having conversations with friends, that's really good. Um,
amazing. We're gonna come to you.
thank
Telling
you. And then of course the gym, yeah,
okay.
keeping physically fit and going for walks. Like even after I go to the gym, like sometimes if my friend gets home late from work, he'll be like, "Hey, do you want to go for a walk with this dog?" And we'll go for a walk. And even just the walk is great because he just kind of let out any sort of tension that you have.
I'm hearing that you try really hard to not isolate, but when you are in your solitude, you have hobbies, pick me ups, right?
Yeah. My own company. I'll go to the movies by myself. I'll go to dinner by myself. So I really do enjoy my own company, but I do definitely have people around me that are always, available if I need them.
Okay, good. If there's anybody that's going through this that has been recently scammed, is in a romance scam, is being catfished, what would you like to say to them, being on the other side of it now? I mean, obviously, but what would you say?
I would say that it's definitely a difficult situation, but it is imperative that you report it to the anti-fraud um, organization in your area or in your province or state. That it's important that you contact local police and file a report about it. It's important that you make copies of any of the transactions that you've sent, the transaction IDs that you sent, any of the conversations that you've had with these individuals. It's just important that you also realize that when someone is intent on scamming you, they're going to scam you. And so there isn't anything that you can talk yourself out of, like, oh, I should have, would have, could have done this. Yeah, you could have, and you may have avoided this particular scam, but who knows what the next scam would have been and the potency of that in terms of being able to get you. And like I said, everyone is able to avoid a scam until they're not, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean you're gullible.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean you're vulnerable. It means that you're human.
Yeah.
You're trying to have a human connection with somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't believe in a world in which trying to have human connections is a bad thing.
Exactly. You just have to now be a little bit more discerning about the types of relationships or people that you let around you, because good people get hurt.
They do. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Is there anything else you'd like to share with my humble audience? That's great.
No, I enjoyed this conversation. It was really good. I hope people get something out of this interview, and like and share it.
Yeah, like, share it, indeed.
Yes.
And I send it to you. Okay, so goodbye for now. Goodbye for now.